You did it. If you have watched all 10 videos, then you made it to the end. Today it's actually a little bit bittersweet. I have really enjoyed the little community that we have built around this 10-day process. I was telling a friend the other day that it was more of a social experiment for myself when it comes to doing consistently Facebook Live, and it's blossomed into something more than I had anticipated. So it's bittersweet because it's coming to an end, but at the same time, I want to finish strong. And so today we are talking about legacy. Now, before you click the off button, legacy is, I could probably do 10 days just on legacy. It's that important. And the reason is whether you are 18, 28, or 88, the reality is that we get one life, we get one chance, and we are going to leave behind a legacy of some kind, whether it is really awesome and good, or if it's not the best. And I don't want it to sound high stakes, but the reality is, I said in another video, time is one of those assets you never get back no matter how hard you try. Well, just like that is true, the other truth is you will leave behind a legacy. So here's what we're going to do today. And this might not be the most fun thing you've ever done, but I can guarantee you that it will put things in perspective and is really important to be able to connect to the string of everything we've done, right? We've worked on passions and strengths and personalities and areas that you need to say no to, and flushing out your dreams and long-term goals, short-term goals. I mean, we've hit a lot of things in 10 days, but it really boils down to today. I mean, it is all day 1 through 9 comes down to what you're doing today. Because hopefully with the legacy that you leave behind, it is going to incorporate all of the things that you've started to unravel in this 10-day journey with me. And here's how you're going to do it. You are going to write your own eulogy. Now, that might not sound fun, or might even sound kind of awkward or weird or scary to think about, but this is what I mean by that, is that it's going to force you to think about certain questions. Because sometimes where you're sitting now, at least this is in my case, sometimes where I'm sitting in my life today, it's hard for me to be able to think all the way down the road, like big picture my life, and then reflect back on it just from where I'm sitting right now. So thinking about something like writing your own eulogy, as morbid as that may sound, it's actually a really, really, really effective tool to tying everything else together. Because when you're writing this, here's what you're thinking about. You are thinking about, how did you impact the people that were around you in your life, whether that is your family, your close friends, your just people that you met while you were shopping at the grocery store. Like, how were you known at the end of your life? How were you known for affecting those people? And whose lives did you change? I mean, whose lives did you actually impact, and how did you impact them? Was it that you were known as somebody who was a drain, or you were somebody who was known as a catalyst? Those are the two polar spectrums, but you get my point, which is people are going to say that you left behind or that you were known for something. So whose life did you change? What was it, for the better or was it for the worse? Were you known as somebody who fought for connection and authenticity and family and things that really ultimately, when we look at everything, when we strip away all of our society's expectations and pursuits of money and everything else, the things that really, really, really matter in life, of, did you know how to love? Were you connected to those that you did love? Were you someone who improved people's lives? Like, their lives were better after they encountered you than before they encountered you, whether it was one conversation or 27 years of a life together. Like, how did you actually impact people's lives? You could also throw in there, what did you build? I mean, what did you build that you were known for within your legacy? Was it you built a thriving ministry, if that happens to be one of your passions? You built a a successful business that is leaving on a financial legacy for your families, your kids, your grandkids, etc.? Was it that you left behind a new standard of what family and health and emotional wholeness looks like from what was before you in the standard to what came after you? Were you the turning point that actually moved your family lineage towards a healthier version of just people in life or functioning? It doesn't always have to be financial success. There's lots of different forms of success. So what is it that you built? Was it a network, like you became a connector and built a network of people that were passionate about whatever, sex trafficking or the homeless or or even helping people build businesses? I don't want to put a limit onto it. I do want to give you a couple ideas though. Okay. And so that's the whole thing of, first, what kind of an impact did you make? Who did you impact? Like, how did you impact them and who did you impact? Then what did you actually build? Like what did you create? Now, it doesn't have to mean that you built a new pen. It doesn't have to be a physical device. You can build a legacy inside of you or inside of your family that may not be tangible, that can be seen, but it can be felt for years. So what is it that you built, that you left behind? Another way of putting it is, try to, and within all of this isn't just the entire thing, but within that, to summarize, try to write one sentence, maybe two, but if you can get it into one sentence, it can be a long one with a comma, that really summarizes who you were as a person. To boil it down, not write a whole page. There's nothing wrong with that, but here's the thing, is just like anything else, like a lot of the things we've been doing, the more you refine, the more you have to focus on what you're going to say. I mean, even these Facebook Lives as an example, I probably could have done a 2-hour teaching on any one of these things, but I just did 10 or 15 minutes. So I knew I only had 10 or 15 minutes. I wanted to share the things that were really, really important, or I felt were important in these topics. So it caused me to focus and really dial in what it was that I wanted to share with you guys. The same principle is true with this eulogy exercise of taking time to boil down into maybe a couple sentences for the whole thing, but really trying to summarize it down into 1 or 2 sentences of who were you and what kind of an impact did you make and did you leave? For me, I wrote down here, I've got just an example of a sentence for me is, this being me, Josh radically loved with intentionality while activating people into their God-given calling. That would be one that would kind of summarize whose lives I changed, how I impact them, who I was as a man. I loved with intentionality. I activated people, whether it was smiling at somebody at the grocery store and reminding them of how beautiful they are, or flushing out a 10-day journey of trying to understand how you're wired and how God has made you, and practically moved you towards your God-given calling. So that's an example from my own, that it's not the only sentence, but it is a sentence that kind of summarizes or encapsulates everything that we're trying to get at. Because here's the thing, is that the goals are important. They're awesome. They're a ton of fun to do. They're challenging. They're stretching. Even the long-term goals and the dreams. If you did the dreams and you got to 100, or even if you got to 50, all of those are about you. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we're doing today is we're saying, what would happen if you actually took some time and moved yourself mentally or emotionally to the end of your life, the one that you get, and what did others have to say about you? How did they experience you? And it may not be how you feel right now, but it is where you want to be when you leave, what you want to leave behind. Now, it should fall in line with everything else that we've done so far, with the strengths, with the passions, with your personality, with, like, I don't want to be known for the person that discovered a a frog that people thought was extinct, right? That may be something that somebody really is passionate about, but it would fall in line with their passions of nature and understanding biology, and like that's not how I'm wired. So it doesn't have to be in the vein of activating people, etc., but it has to be, or it should be, to continue to keep you focused on that. This is kind of where you're pointing your ship in the big picture is you have your long-term goals, your short-term goals, and then you have what am I leaving behind at the very end? And that way you should be able to maneuver, hopefully, towards that ultimate goal of what it is that you want to leave behind. And that really summarizes what we're trying to get at, or what I'm trying to help you see and get clarity in. And hopefully by the end of these 10 days, you have found more clarity in how you're wired, uniquely how you're wired. I mean, if you read through some of the comments, you'll see that everybody's passions and desires and dreams, they're all different. And that's what I love about how God made each one of us so uniquely. And my desire and my prayer and my hope for you is that you have had a better understanding of your uniqueness, of your calling, of your passion. And with it being, the eulogy at the end of going, well, what is it that I really want my life to represent and be known for once I arrive at that point that everybody does at some point in time in their life?